The hills began, back in 2018 at Freedman Park. There was a group of about 80 people who got together and determined, they wanted to see church done in a different direction and in a different way. They started meeting on their own without any pastors, without any people. And so we actually didn't start the church, the people started the church, and we started working on the mission from that point on. So we looked all over town, casinos, hotels, you name it, and somehow God gave us favor with the convention center.
It was just super cool. Watching it go from the gathering to Old National Events Plaza, we didn't even know if people were gonna show up, to an event center that hosts, concerts of all kinds on Saturday night, and will they show up to a church on Sunday morning that's just set up and tear down? And people just started showing up.
It was not only the biggest space, but the cheapest space available to us. So we moved into there, immediately started to see God do some amazing stuff, started to grow a lot.
I remember Daryl and I sitting at his kitchen table with my old Toshiba laptop. It took a quart of oil to get that thing just to start up in the morning. It was horrible. And we're typing it out, and we're like, what does this thing even look like? What is it that this group of people is passionate about? And what the resounding refrain was, people that other churches don't take the time to welcome because they're messy, they're hard, it takes extra effort. And we're about those people.
We had charged our team with going, hey, we've got to figure out a way to speak to an audience that is not not spoken to very often, and how do we do that? So we looked at tons of different branding companies, and none of them had great work and work with the church. It was great work, but disconnected from the church world. And if they were in the church world, it was okay work, but disconnected from reality of creative. So I was like, I'm just gonna get what everybody else is getting. I don't need a cross in 10 different places. So we just stumbled across. One of the guys was doing homework, and he's like, hey, this team looks really incredible. Why don't we reach out to them? And it was almost from day one when we spoke to Mark and several people on the team that it was like, hey, these guys get it. They understand. And it was the first group that we had talked to that was not afraid of our vision.
Branding process from the very beginning was super fun for me. I was the initial contact for reaching out, and my first web meeting was with Mark. And from that point on, it was, he understands what we're trying to do. It seems like he has a team of people behind him that will be able to help us and guide us throughout the whole process.
It's really helpful for me for many reasons. When the team came in from ArtSpeak, they asked just really good questions that help people like me just get the ideas out there. And our entire team that we brought in, it was just, what drives you? We were able to kind of spitball with that and freestyle with that, talking about our area. And so we were able to spitball, really freestyle, throw what we're passionate about out there, which was a lot of stuff. And then when I saw it come back from ArtSpeak, and that took, honestly, I was worried because we threw so much out there. It's like, there's no way they're gonna be able to take this and make it actually useful. And to see that first draft of the messaging blueprint, it was like, holy cow. Even our target audience, Anthony, it's a guy that we're very passionate about. We've been passionate about him for a long time.
That's where we saw the brilliance, and the first payoff was immediately when that came back, and it was like, here's what I think you're saying. And I was like, no, that's not what we think we're saying. That's exactly what we're trying to say. We just didn't know how to say it. Serving, as we call him, Anthony, or our target audience, wasn't born just out of necessity. Okay, it wasn't something we just thought about. We were convicted about that, especially because of the area we live in. Anthony for us is, a 36-year-old male, right? And we made it very clear, Anthony doesn't want to go to church. We've got a lot of broken men who don't feel like they can lead their family. How do we get him to be the champion again? We're told back for the first time what we were telling other people and how to tell people so that they could understand it. We were blown away. Because I was like, wow, that's really good. And you're like, well, that's what you guys are saying. I was like, really? And I was like, yeah, we are saying that. You're right. Once we figured out in verbiage who we were, these maverick coaches, right? We were able to not only digest that, but really to start speaking that way. So it changed the way we wrote, it changed the way we talked, it changed the way we did worship. We're always coaching people.
The communication guidelines provides a parameter for me to be able to clearly, creatively make things, to create creatively, if I could say. And it really allows that creative process to flow a lot easier with those parameters than it would be if there were no parameters, because it just kind of, it's that pathway.
One of the things that ArtSpeak did to help us get into not just branding and kind of thinking like all thought stuff, but get into practical stuff for our building is how do we speak to Anthony? If you take Anthony's profile of thinking of like, what does he have? Like, what's big in his life? Well, his kids are big in his life. So 60% of our building is designed for kids.
We're designing specific to one human being. And I think that's where the brilliance of ArtSpeak and what the Hills was doing came together, right? Is identifying and then laser focused. And then we were able to go, okay, like this doesn't fit, this doesn't fit, this doesn't fit. And it wasn't patchwork because we knew exactly who we were building it for and what we wanted his story to look like. I'll say it again, we don't like to major in the minors. You know, like we are a creative team, but we're not branding people, right? If you need that, you need to search people that God has called to do that, right? And it just helps you stick out. I mean, is it going to be the best money you've ever spent? Yes. And here's why. Not only will your brand be identifiable, it will be unique, right? And then other people will go, there's something different about you, just from the picture. And it's not revolutionary in its design and implementation. It just sticks out. And you know, in a world where it's hard to stick out, you gotta have some team that's working behind the scenes. I don't have that kind of energy, nobody on this team. You know, we've got 52 Sundays a year, you know, 156 services to pile through. I don't want to take that energy away. And for the amount of money that was spent, you can't beat it. So why would I use ArtSpeak again is the real question. I'm dealing with authentic people who listen, right? That's what we want. If I could find somebody who would listen and not tell me what to do, but to hear our story and be able to make it clear to us, that was unique. We send them our vision and clarity came back, right? And so you can't buy that. You just can't, and it's very rare. So I've been a pastor now for 22 years, and I've been over creative departments of large churches for many years. Had I known that this existed, I would have saved myself a ton of heartache.